Hello everyone, welcome to Learn the Lingo. My name is Matthew, and today we are going to learn the Hebrew names of all the books that make up the Hebrew Bible, which is commonly known as the Old Testament, and which in Hebrew is called the Tanakh. Tanakh is a Hebrew abbreviation. Each of its three letters are the first letters of the names of the three sections that the Hebrew Bible is divided into. The first letter in Tanakh is Tav, which is the first letter of Torah, the first section of the Hebrew Bible. Torah means instruction, and is also commonly translated as law. The second letter of Tanakh is Nun, which is the first letter of Nevi'im, which means prophets, the second section of the Hebrew Bible. And the last letter in Tanakh is Kaf, the first letter of Ketuvim, which means writings, the third and last section of the Hebrew Bible. Taf, Nun, and Kaf make up the abbreviation Tanakh, which is what the Hebrew Bible is called in Hebrew. Now let's start going over the names of each book in the Tanakh, starting with the 5 books of Moses, which make up the first section, the Torah. In Hebrew, each of these 5 books get their names from the first distinct and important word in the Hebrew text. This word that gives the name is not always the very first word in the book, but in the case of the first book, which we know as Genesis, it is the first word of the book, Bereshit, from the phrase Bereshit bara Elohim. In the beginning, God created. Bereshit is usually translated as in the beginning. Since Bereshit is the first distinct word of this book, the book is called Bereshit in Hebrew. But note that not all these books' names come from the very first word in them. The first word of the second book, which we know as Exodus, is Va'ele, which means, and these are, in the first phrase, and these are the names of the sons of Israel. But Va'ele is not a distinct enough word to be the name of the book, and so it gets its name from the second word, Shemot, which means names. So the Hebrew name of the book Exodus is Shemot, names. The third book, Leviticus, is called Vayikra in Hebrew, Vayikra being the first word in the Hebrew text, and meaning, and he called, from the opening phrase, Vayikra el Moshe, and he called to Moses. The fourth book, Numbers, is called Bamidbar in Hebrew. Bamidbar is actually the 5th word of the book, which opens with Vaydaber Adonai and Moshe Bamidbar Sinai, and the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai. None of the first 4 words were chosen for the name of the book because the phrase, and the Lord spoke to Moses, is a very, very common phrase in the Torah, and so these words are not distinct enough to be the name of the book, and so the name Bamidbar was chosen from the next phrase, Bamidbar Sinai, in the wilderness of Sinai. Bamidbar means in the wilderness of. And the 5th and final book of the Torah, Deuteronomy, starts with the Hebrew word Ele, these are, in these are the words which Moses spoke. Again, this is not distinct enough for a name, and so the book is named after the second word, Devarim, which means words. The book of Deuteronomy is called Devarim in Hebrew. And so those are the names of the 5 books of the Torah. The next section of the Hebrew Bible is Nevi'im, prophets. In Christian Bibles, the books of Nevi'im are in the sections of history and the prophets. The Hebrew names are pretty straightforward, since most of them are named after the author or one of the main characters of the book, and all of them have the same meanings as the names we have for them in English. The Hebrew book of Joshua is called Yehoshua, Joshua's name in Hebrew. Judges is called Shoftim, Judges. 1 Samuel is called Shemuel Aleph. Aleph means first, since it's the first letter of the Aleph Beit, the Hebrew alphabet. 2 Samuel is called Shemuel Beit. Beit means second because it's the second letter of the Aleph Beit. The Hebrew word Malachim means kings, and so that's where we get the names Malachim Aleph, First Kings, and Malachim Beit, Second Kings. The books of the prophets are simply named after the prophets who wrote them: Isaiah, Yeshayah, Jeremiah, Yeremiah, Ezekiel, Yechezkel, Hosea, Hoshea, Joel, Yoel, Amos, Amos, Obadiah, Ovadiah, Jonah, Yonah, Micah, Micha, Nahum, Nahum, Habakkuk, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Zephaniah, Haggai, Haggai, Zechariah, Zechariah, and Malachi, Malachi. So those are all the books of Nevi'im. Finally, the third section of the Hebrew Bible is Ketuvim, writings. In Christian Bibles, most of these books are in the sections of poetry or history. We start out with Tehillim, Psalms, Mishlei, Proverbs, Iyov, Job, Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, and Ruth. The next book, Lamentations, is called Echa in Hebrew. Echa means how, and is a cry of distress used at the beginnings of chapters 1, 2, and 4 of the book that bears its name in Hebrew, Echa. The next book, Ecclesiastes, is called Kohelet in Hebrew, after the name of the narrator, the words of Kohelet, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Then we have Esther, Daniel, Ezra, and Nehemiah. The last two books of the Hebrew Bible are 1st and 2nd Chronicles, which in Hebrew are called Divrei Hayamim Aleph and Divrei Hayamim Beit. Divrei means matters of, and Hayamim means the days. So Divrei Hayamim literally means matters of the days, that is, Chronicles. And that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have subscribed, thank you so much for helping me reach over 2,500 subscribers. I hope you're enjoying the videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.